Hi, I'm Karen Dolan, and today I'm going to train you on the Code of Conduct. The Utah Provider Code of Conduct outlines specific rules and regulations for all of us to follow when we're working with clients. The purpose of the Code of Conduct is to protect all of our clients from abuse, neglect, maltreatment, or exploitation. These rules are in addition to Four Corners policies, procedures, and regulation, all which govern the services that we deliver to our clients. Our clients have a right to safety and to be free from harm or exploitation. Whether you're a member of the clinical team, administration, a non-direct staff member, a contractor, or a board member, each year you're going to be asked to sign a form that says that you've read and you understand the Code of Conduct. Basically, the Code of Conduct says providers shall not abuse, neglect, exploit, sexually exploit, or maltreat clients in any way through direct acts or indirect acts, or by encouraging others to act, and even by failing to stop someone else from acting in an abusive manner. So here's an overview. No person shall cause injury to any client. All injury to clients, explained or unexplained, shall be documented in writing and immediately reported to a Four Corners supervisor. No person will cause any client to be subjected to abuse, sexual exploitation, neglect, or maltreatment. No person shall engage any client as an observer or participant in any sexual act. No person shall take a client's resources for profit or for their own advantage. Failure to comply with this code of conduct could result in corrective action or probation, suspension, or even termination. So what exactly is the definition of a client? A client is any person who is a participant in any of our services. This applies to those under 18 or over 18. This applies to current clients and former clients. Now I'd like to talk about some definitions of various types of abuse which are prohibited. So abuse of a client could include, but isn't limited to, harm or threatened harm or damage to the physical or emotional health or welfare of a client, unlawful confinement, deprivation of life-sustaining treatment, physical injury including contusions, lacerations, malnutritions, burns, a fracture of bones, injury to internal organs, any injury causing bleeding, or any physical condition which imperils the client's health or welfare. Also prohibited is any kind of hitting or corporal punishment inflicted in any manner upon a client's body. Sexual abuse and sexual exploitation includes, but isn't limited to, engaging in sexual intercourse with any client, or for licensed staff, this applies to former clients as well, touching private body parts, taking indecent liberties, or causing another person to take indecent liberties with a client, employing, using, persuading, inducing, enticing, or coercing a client to pose in the nude. This includes photographing, filming, recording, displaying in any way the sexual or simulated sexual content with a client, committing or attempting to commit acts of sodomy or molestation with a client. The next section is neglect of a client, and this may include, but isn't limited to, denial of sufficient nutrition, denial of sufficient sleep, denial of sufficient clothing or bedding, failure to provide adequate supervision. So this includes an impaired employee who can't provide sufficient supervision of clients. And impairment doesn't just necessarily mean drugs or alcohol. It also means illness or sleeping on shift. Failure to arrange for medical care or medical treatment as needed or prescribed, and denial of sufficient shelter. Exploitation of a client includes, but isn't limited to, utilizing the labor or skills or talents of a client. Clients should never work for staff members, even if they're being paid. Using property belonging to clients, accepting gifts. None of those are allowed. Maltreatment includes making clients perform physical exercise such as running laps or performing push-ups. Chemical, mechanical, or physical restraints unless there's a threat of injury. For example, if a client were to overdose, we could use naloxone to reverse that overdose. Maltreatment also includes making client to do unduly physical, strenuous, or harsh work, requiring or forcing the individual to take an uncomfortable position such as squatting or bending, or requiring or forcing the individual to repeat physical movements as a form of punishment. Group punishments for misbehaviors or individuals is also maltreatment of clients. Verbal abuse by agency personnel, engaging in language which is demeaning to the client, is not allowed. Denial of any essential program or service solely for disciplinary purposes is maltreatment. Denial of visiting or communication privileges with family or significant others solely for disciplinary purposes. Requiring the individual to remain silent for long periods of time solely for punishment is not allowed. Extensive withholding of emotional response or stimulation. Not allowing a client to enter their residence as a form of punishment is also not allowed. So if we see abuse or harm to a client, we all have reporting requirements. Each of us is responsible to document and report abuse, sexual abuse, exploitation, neglect, maltreatment, or exploitation. Also, we're required to fully cooperate with any resulting investigation. Immediately, if you find abuse, report that to your supervisor, to the clinical director, or the executive director, and then they will then report the abuse to the Human Services Licensing Office within 24 hours. All injury to clients, explained or unexplained, shall be documented in writing and immediately reported to your supervisor. Thank you for your time. If you have questions or concerns, please talk to your supervisor or Human Services. And thank you for taking such good care of our clients.